Yes, I know this is the second XRP video in a row. You also know that I always approach this very neutrally. No, this isn't FUD against anything. It's really neutral. But the news I found yesterday, and which I researched a bit more deeply for you, is quite something. XRP might be completely out of the reserves. And why and what's really behind it? So, yes, I'd say let's take a look at it. Plus, of course, today's crypto trading setup. So I'll see you after the intro. Now, new uptrend VIP trading. Your opportunity to copy the signals of two professional traders for free. They managed to grow an account from $4,000 to $30,000 within 2 months. The results in the group are also impressive. All you need for this is a deposit of $100 into your BingX account. You can find all further information below in the description. Let's briefly start with the crypto heat map. Everything looks pretty good so far. Bitcoin is just below $44,000. When was the last time we wished for that? So absolutely wild. And the price is really holding steady up there right now. Ethereum is also making solid gains. You wouldn't believe it. The Dino has awakened once again. XRP is also off to a good start. Solana ADA. So what can you say? Overall, Bitcoin plus the altcoins are delivering a clean performance right now. Now, of course, it would be nice if this moved into the small caps as well, but as I said, that will still take some time. Even when we look at the spot ETFs, you can see here, good movement all in all. And we have positive inflows here, especially BlackRock is really going all in again. At this point, a huge thank you again for the clicks yesterday, 1,300 clicks. And guys, once again, this is really important. When I talk about XRP or any other crypto asset, I do so neutrally. This isn't hate or anything like that. It's just neutral and fact-based. So you're welcome to hate on me for it. But in the end, I'm not doing anything wrong. By the way, what's also cool is that the likes are finally back above 130. So at this point, if you want to support my channel, my hours of research, my work here, it's super easy. Of course, you're welcome to leave a comment down below and make your mark. I'll definitely respond to that as well. But you're also welcome to just leave a free like. It doesn't cost you any money, hardly any time. It's super quick. And it really boosts the algorithm here. If this happens to be the first video you're seeing and you're thinking, Daniel, that's nice, but what exactly are you doing here? Here, it's all about trading and crypto news. Daily, honest, fact-based, transparent, and without any hype. In other words, exactly what you need. If that sounds good to you, go ahead and subscribe for free now and activate the bell so you don't miss any important updates. A warm welcome to all the newcomers. And now let's continue. Let's first take a look back and remember everything that's happened. We know that right now, the Ripple and Bitcoin communities have really clashed, because it was suggested that Brad Garlinghouse might have done a bit of lobbying to change the term from Bitcoin reserves to general own crypto reserves. Not everyone was particularly amused by that. So I'll be open and transparent with you. I can accept Bitcoin, it's completely decentralized, no one can change it, and so on. But when it comes to other altcoins, where there are companies behind them getting involved somehow, I'm just not so sure about that. That also makes the state somewhat dependent to a certain extent. Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments. You're welcome to say whatever you think, like, yeah, sure, that should be included. But even back then, I found it a bit questionable, especially since we can also recall that famous post from March 2nd, 2025 on Truth Social. That was when the entire crypto space just went wild, because Trump put out a statement, well, yeah, so the crypto reserves will include XRP, Solana, and ADA. And then, about an hour later, the next post came. Oh, by the way, Bitcoin and Ethereum might also be included. I'm really quite fond of those too. I already found that pretty exciting at the time, because at first those coins pumped hard. And then eventually Bitcoin and Ethereum followed. And I thought that was pretty bold, especially since it later turned out that he can't even make that decision. So yeah, a lot of people then wrote, yeah, he's now removed XRP, Solana, and ADR again. No, he didn't delete it. With an executive order, all he can do is decree that already confiscated assets are converted into reserves. The problem now is with Bitcoin and Ethereum that might work because there are confiscated assets there. But if you also take a look at the corresponding wallet of the US government, there's simply nothing in it that has anything to do with XRP, Solana, or ADA. And that's why there was such a big correction because of that. Yeah, so all in all, it's questionable why someone would put out a post like that when in theory he should know that he can't actually make that decision himself. But now things have escalated even further because there's a new enemy in the picture, Ballard Partners. I hadn't heard of them before either. So we're talking about an influential American lobbying firm headquartered in Tallahassee. It's also worth mentioning that they are extremely well connected, especially within the Republican Party. For one thing, this company also supported Trump during his first election victory and in 2016. As a result, an office was then opened in Washington, D.C. And yes, let's put it this way, all in all, their influence is quite significant. Just to give you a rough idea of the scale here, in 2025, Ballard Partners was hired by 221 clients and generated revenues of $3 million US. Their clients include well-known companies such as Amazon, JP Morgan, Netflix, Bayer, United Airlines, and also T-Mobile. Well, and now we're getting right to the heart of the matter. Basically, this company is known for providing support with political challenges in tricky situations and for developing clever strategies in such cases. Whether we can actually call this a complicated situation, I'll just leave that open for now. In any case, it appears, at least according to the media reports available, that Trump was prompted by a lobbyist to make these posts. And in the end, it turned out that this lobbyist, in turn, has a rather close connection to Ripple. So I wouldn't necessarily call it a conflict of interest. But, well, in any case, I'm curious to see what comes of this. So Trump must have been extremely annoyed. That's also clearly mentioned here because he felt like he had been taken advantage of. Yeah, congratulations. That's great. Now, for once, he's the one suffering the consequences. No, but jokes aside, that's really a wild story. And I also did some research for you, and it really does seem to be the case that XRP has been completely removed from the reserves. Because you could also say, for example, that with Bitcoin, there are now ways to buy crypto assets without actually spending any money, like using revenue from penalty tariffs or by selling existing confiscated reserves. Confiscated cryptos such as BNB and then using that to buy XRP. And here it really does seem to be the case that the XRP is mod completely out. I'm honestly really curious to see what other news will follow. And with that, let's move on to the crypto trading setup at this point. If you're interested in free trading signals, it's absolutely wild what happened there yesterday, by the way. We're talking about 40% gains, 150% gains here. You can also read all of this completely transparently in the group. I think that's really awesome, especially because it's all done through a licensed exchange. Let me just say, BingX is an official partner of Chelsea, so that's definitely a solid foundation. In any case, if you're interested, check out the description. There's a link for it. Let's start briefly with the liquidation heat map. Yeah, so here we see a tremendous surge, which now feels like it's in a bit of a consolidation phase. We'll take a look at the chart in a moment, but it's really wild. I honestly didn't expect the breakout around 100K to happen so quickly, and especially for the price to hold so steadily up there. Especially since we have some vector candles here, and it's only a matter of time before they're taken out. Eventually, that's clear. But that doesn't necessarily have to happen right away. I'm curious to see what happens. And let's not forget, it's the weekend. Market makers are active. Yeah, right here, the short positions were nicely liquidated again. But otherwise, the map is pretty empty at the moment. Yeah, down here, there's a bit of liquidity, which makes sense because a lot of people went long here. But even there, I can imagine, since it's not that significant, that many have already taken profits here. And so, yeah, as I said, I'd say let's take a direct look at TradingView. Let's start right here in the 15-minute view. So, as you can see, I've drawn a few things in here. Let's start with this. We had this uptrend here, which I already showed you yesterday. You could clearly see the retest from below, from above, everywhere. It all went up to this point. And now we're basically in a consolidation phase. What's really interesting here, and this is also the support zone I've marked for you here, is around 102,400, give or take. I would definitely keep a close eye on that because we had a test here, another test here, one here, and another one here. And so far, it doesn't look like things are going to move further down from here. So I think that's pretty cool so far. Now we've got a little upward trend here again, but there will be quite a lot of movement in this area because if the support doesn't hold and things continue downward, then I'd say, looking at the vector candles here, we could quickly slip back down to around 101,800 or 700, something in that range. That would definitely be an interesting entry point there. Because if you look here, we've got the next vector candle right here as well. So to be completely honest with you, I've got several limit orders down here in the account that I manage for someone else. And so I actually wouldn't mind at all if there was a quick pullback here. But overall, this all looks pretty wild right now. On weekends, there's usually a bit less movement. So that's something you should keep an eye on as well. It could be that today and tomorrow, things just drift along a bit. Maybe tomorrow afternoon we'll see a bit more movement as a setup for Monday, and then things really pick up again on Monday. RSI here, well, we're definitely already in a pretty overbought area. But that doesn't mean anything just yet. So there's still some room to move up, generally speaking. We can see that theoretically it could even go up to here. So as I said, you should keep an eye on it, but generally it could be that things cool off a bit here. But as I said, Bitcoin's performance is impressive. I've also pulled up the daily view for you here. It's pretty wild. I mean, that's really tasty. Sure, vector candles or not, but the price has really shot up again here. We're also moving back into a good volume area here, which should definitely be attractive. And even if we look at the trading range here, if Bitcoin manages to break in up here, you can see how quickly we're brushing up against the all-time high. There's not much room left to the upside. So I'd say at first range, if we take a closer look, we'd be here. Let's say around 160,000, give or take. There could be a bit of support or resistance there, depending on how things go. So you should definitely keep an eye on this zone. But if the price manages to crawl above that, folks, then we've hit the all-time high. I'm pretty convinced of that. And you can see it here too. The volume in this area, there's just not much trading going on. This thing just shot straight up through here. So yeah, just please don't get too much FOMO right now. It can really make a sense to just wait for now, sit back and say, okay, maybe it'll reach the all-time high now. I still wouldn't open a short position, by the way, but I would set my entries lower down. And because, as I said, even if this is a steep rise over a few days, such vector candles usually get filled again. Let's take another quick look at XRP. That also looks really nice. So here we had this downtrend. That was nicely broken through up here. Then there was another retest exactly in our critical area, and now it looks really solid. If we move this here, we can see there was some movement right on the Fibonacci line, but then it went straight up again. Here it pulled back, then continued upward again. And now it gets interesting. If the price continues to rise, if the positive momentum remains, then we would be in this zone here, let's say around $2.47, give or take. That would definitely be the next most exciting range here. And then if there is sufficient support there as well, it could go straight up toward, let's say, around 2.60. So that would be really appealing. Definitely. And that's why, as I said, these are the zones you should keep an eye on now. Of course, if it continues downward now, especially here at this Fibonacci level around 220, there will definitely be some movement again. Sorry, I mean 230, of course. And if it continues here, yes, we have our critical zone, but as long as Bitcoin is performing like this, I don't really see much risk for XRP either. But the absolute strongest outperformer is clearly Ethereum. So guys, what is going on there? We had a downtrend for ages, then this uptrend going upwards, and then a complete escalation and breakout. That's exactly what everyone was hoping for, of course. You could also see it here in the volume area. There was hardly any movement. We just had the retest up here. Oh, precisely in this zone. Unfortunately, there was a rejection there right around $2,500. Now it's dropping a bit further down into this area here. You can also see that there was always relatively strong trading here. Now it gets interesting because the next breakout could happen right away. Since we can see there's little trading in this whole area, especially up here. We can see that in the volume area, there was absolutely nothing going on there. That means with positive momentum, we could easily move up to over, well, almost $2,700, or realistically, yes, the $2,700 up here would be very, 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 very realistic. And then we'd be operating in completely different zones again. That's it for today. I'm really curious to hear how you liked the update, what you think about XRP, and what you think about the trading setup. If you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a free like. I'd really appreciate that. Feel free to write a comment below with your opinion on all this. And if you're interested in VIP trading, in free trading signals, in making some profits ideally, but you don't know BingX, how does it work technically? Then check out this video where I explain it in detail. So from the technical side, it's unlisted. You're also welcome to share this video further and feel free to leave a like there as well. We'll see each other tomorrow in the next update. Until then, all the best. Ciao.